Hello out there, welcome to Primordial Creative. It is my studio. I am an artist, educator, a bunch of other things. My name is David Miller, and today we are going to talk about the ethics of trade shoots, which are shoots where generally everybody on set is unpaid. Sometimes one or more of the people involved will get paid because they are of a particular talent level, and maybe the trade shoot is the model works without getting paid, but they get to work with this amazing makeup artist or stylist. The reason why I am bringing up this topic today is because I've been doing a deep dive into Guillermo del Toro interviews on YouTube, and I came across one that was during the production of Mimic, which is a film that starred Mira Sorvino. And the interviewer, ironically somebody who was caught up in the Me Too movement, talks to Mira about the unpleasant experience she had working with photographer David LaChapelle. Now, LaChapelle, not the comedian, the photographer, is really well known for his portraiture, especially scenarios that push the envelope creatively and conceptually. And I'll go ahead and let Mira describe some of that shoot.
Even the New York Times, which I was rather disturbed by the fact that they didn't ask me to comment on the article because they made the issue about the curtailment of an artist's right to use his medium in whatever way he sees fit. And a lot of the art of photography happens in the printing stage. And by retouching or dodging and burning, even in that rudimentary form, you can seriously alter a photographic image. And, they're touting David LaChapelle as one of the great new masters of the form, and I have extreme respect for his talent. I think he's a fantastic photographer. However, we were in a situation where it was a non-paid photo shoot in which I was doing it, consenting to do it with David LaChapelle, and I'm a celebrity, and we decided to do it as a theme that I was going to portray certain figures from Hollywood past. And David has a slightly offbeat, lurid sensibility to his work, and I was willing to go a certain ways down that path with him, but not too far. And we talked a few days before the photo shoot about what images I would portray, and I agreed to do Frances Farmer in two different situations, one in the courthouse and one walking out of the hospital. And I agreed to do Lana Turner after Johnny Stompanato was killed by her daughter. He asked me if I would portray the girl that was supposedly killed by Fatty Arbuckle, and I said no, because I just didn't want that association. And he said, okay, well, we could do you as Jane Mansfield or Joan Crawford. And I said, well, Jane Mansfield, I did Marilyn on television, and if you put me in a 50s platinum wig and 50s makeup, I'm going to look like my Marilyn. So I'd rather not keep doing that image. And Joan Crawford, I just prefer, that's not something I'm interested in either. I mean, she's, a malicious woman. She was in her 50s when she had, the Christina Crawford, and it's not, let's find some other mutually interesting image. Let's go for something else. Call me when you find it. He didn't call me. I show up on the set Saturday. We do the first two setups. The New York Times said that I didn't have any objections to the Frances Farmer setup in which the brain was being carried in a jar by a nurse. And actually, that was also something he added in after the fact that was never in the original photograph, and I didn't know would be there. So as I say, he has a slightly lurid taste, and that's his taste, that's his sensibility. I would not have made a ruckus about the brain. However, then we get to the next location and we see a setup for both a Jane Mansfield photo shoot and a Joan Crawford one. And I said, I'm really sorry, but we agreed, I told you I wasn't willing to do those. So he agreed on the set after deliberation with about 10 witnesses, including Allure's stylist, who was there. The magazine's representative was there, and my publicist was there, Quentin was there, everyone was there. And ultimately, I said, look, I'll do this outfit as Judy Garland or as Marlene Dietrich because it suited either of those personalities, but I'm not going to do Joan Crawford. I said I wouldn't and I won't. And so he agreed and said, okay, we'll shoot you as Marlene Dietrich. We won't do Joan Crawford. And the makeup artist, we brought out my Marlene Dietrich books that I happened to have in my car, did this makeup and posed me as Dietrich, and Quentin even did a few Polaroids with me. There was no little girl, there was no tree, and there was no eyebrows and mouth that were later computer imposed upon it. So the thing is, he lied, because after the fact, he decided, I'm just going to do whatever I want. I'm going to turn her back into Joan Crawford. She said she wouldn't do it. I agreed to that, but now I'm going to go back and do it my way. Well, there seems to be something very dishonorable about that to me. I just take issue with his his dishonesty and manipulativeness. And this is a volunteer situation. I'm not being paid. I'm not a model. And this is a mutually beneficial photo shoot, but it's an agreement between two artists. I'm acting as his subject, but in a prescribed manner. I'm not clay for him to sculpt. I mean, if he had hired me as a model and the model said, okay, do with me what you will, that's a completely different story.
So there are a few issues that she brings up in this interview that I've heard a lot and seen, personally from my own experience as an art photographer. And one is the fact that it was an unpaid shoot, therefore she feels the creative collaboration was co-creators, not boss-employee kind of relationship. And this is generally how I run my own trade shoots. There are some people who are very inexperienced and kind of rely on the photographer to come up with most of the concept, if not all. They just want to get some experience in. They're looking at more like an internship kind of relationship. But that's not the case with David and Mira. It's a co-creator relationship. They are sort of equal stature on the shoot. But, for most of the people, I'm assuming watching this, if you consider yourself an amateur photographer, amateur model, even if you don't consider yourself an amateur at what you do, I feel like an ethical way to approach life is if you agreed upon something ahead of time, then that's what you need to deliver and stick to. Now, there's always time for future plans. A lot of times during my own trade shoots, this is when I first meet somebody and I find out what they're interested in doing, and maybe they bring up that they're willing to push the envelope a little bit. That's something you can do on the next shoot. And you know what? A lot of those first shoots are just vibing people out. When you find that you vibe or gel together, that the results are things that you're both happy with, there will be future shoots. Even if you're traveling, I've worked with countless people in other states that I'll see, maybe once a year, every 6 months, once every 2 years, but we kept that dialogue going through social media because we were able to plan the next shoot, because we can refer back to those earlier conversations and say, hey, we talked about doing this. Maybe it was something that involved nudity or, more extreme makeup or concepts that sort of lean towards horror and stuff. Because it was planned, it was better, a lot better than if it was like spontaneous in the moment. This is what I really want to do. When you agree upon a concept and they show up to set and you're like, I know we talked about this, but we're gonna do this. That's real shady stuff. And even shadier is when you agree upon something and the other person said they weren't interested in this thing, but then you do it in post-production. I mean, why even do that? And the fact that it was done to Mira Sorvino, somebody with, a public platform that could actually speak out against you as a creative, is extra shady. I do not know what adding things like a brain in a jar in post really adds to the shoot. I mean, I understand when we come up with concepts in our head. I do not understand what that earns you, other than the reputation of somebody who is so fixated on a particular concept that you're going to be disregarding the concerns, the thoughts of your co-collaborators. Imagine a band. You've got a guy on guitar, you got a guy on bass, you got a guy on drums. They're co-creating a song together, and the drummer decides to do something really wacky in the middle of it, and the rest of the band thinks it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. We're voting as a democracy that we're not going to use it, and the drummer says okay, and then you get on stage, and then the drummer throws their wacky idea in there, in the middle of the set. That's the end of the set. I mean, I would totally understand if the other band members just walked off. The audience would have never known whether or not that wacky little bit was part of the song.
Basically, he lied. He said, we're not doing that, we're doing this, okay? And, to the makeup artist, said, make her up as Marlene Dietrich. And then later imposed the eyebrows, the mouth, and presented me as he wished, and it said an homage to Joan Crawford. So, and the magazine, what I cannot believe, I have to say, I really find it very difficult to believe that they did not know about this, because my publicist was there and their stylist was there, and I'm sure they must have reported back to the editor. Well, there was a little issue, it got cleared up, they're doing Marlene Dietrich. Right. So, I think that any artist who works with another artist should honor the other person's wishes, especially when they've been promised to them.
Even though you might have elaborate Bibles for characters, elaborate ideas, fully fleshed out concepts, if you are working with a co-creator and they come with a better idea, or they say, I'm not willing to participate in this thing, but I'll do these other things, listening is going to get you better collaborators. People who bring their A game because they feel valued and appreciated. When you don't listen to people, you're setting up collaborators who now look at you as hostile, as an enemy, as a person they don't want to bring their A game, and then it just devalues the work in the end. Honestly, if you have ideas that collaborator A doesn't want to do, they're not going to be the only collaborator in your life as an artist. Save them for somebody who is more willing to participate in those ideas. And you know what? Maybe if you don't find collaborators that go for those ideas, maybe it's because those ideas weren't good to begin with. Maybe it's the universe telling you that you should be doing something else. The other ethics of a trade shoot that don't really apply to the Miro Sorino situation, obviously number one is agree upon a concept ahead of time, execute that concept to the best of your abilities, and don't pull fast ones either during the shoot or after the shoot. I feel like even the trade shoots that aren't very successful, like you didn't get a lot of great photos as a photographer out of it, you should deliver stuff to the people no matter what, because if somebody held up their end of the bargain and showed up to a shoot, then you owe them something. I've met other photographers, I've had them as friends who will come out and say, well, if I don't think a trade shoot is successful, I don't send them anything. I don't think that is a good way to operate. If you gave them something that was just in-focus photos of their head, whatever, man, just send it to them, be done with it. It isn't like you have to post everything in social media, make it part of your portfolio. And if they post it on their social media, if there's somebody who doesn't really work well in a trade shoot, not a lot of people are gonna see it, and it's not going to, ruin your entire career, reputation as an artist, as a photographer. But if you don't give them anything, if you take months to deliver stuff, and I've heard that over and over and over, that somebody took like a way long time, ridiculous amount of time to deliver photos that weren't even very good, then you do get a reputation. It does end up getting you on a blacklist somewhere, on a model forum. Don't do that. I think of the few shoots I've done in my time where I wasn't satisfied, or I worked with somebody that was just like so green that they didn't really know how to work in front of a camera, and maybe it was like a 20-minute shoot. I've had plenty of those on my tours where I had to get somewhere and the person showed up late, and we only had like 15-20 minutes to do something. I'm still able to get a few good photos, and then those are the ones I take the card home, stick it in the computer, edit really fast, send it to the person within 24 hours because I know that this work piles up, and I don't want this like 20-minute shoot hovering over me like a black cloud, having people write me, hey, where's my photos, where's my thing? I mean, just get it done, get it out the door. Some of those 20-minute shoots end up being people that I keep in contact with over the years, and have a good social media acquaintance relationship. If not, that 20-minute shoot ended up being a friend that I worked with a bunch of times down the line, and it was just the circumstances of the first one had a time crunch.
And as I say, and I'll repeat it again, I really respect his work. I think he's a fantastic talent. I personally don't think much of him right now.
In any case, I feel like being kind and professional to everyone that works with you on any level, whether it's like a super professional shoot or beginning trade shoot, it pays off in the long run. It gets you a good reputation, and it makes your experience as a photographer and an artist so much better because it takes time and energy to combat that stress. None of us need that in our lives. And if you are somebody who wants to be the boss of everybody on set and, dictate, this is the concept, this is how you're gonna do it, this is what I want, this is what's gonna look like in post. If you are a dictator, pay the people you work with, then they're not collaborators, their employees, and they're more likely to be compliant in all the things that you want to have happen during a shoot, after a shoot, so on and so forth. Anyways, that's today's sermon. Best of luck to you in your creative endeavors, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Talk to you next time.